Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another round of the 1926 Dreadnought World Championship. It's now the quarterfinals. Norway, having beaten Brazil, has advanced and is now facing England. It says here the British Empire, but don't worry, it's England. Slightly different lineups this time around. Norway with 8 battleships and 3 battlecruisers. Same as the last match. Britain with 7 battleships and 4 battlecruisers. Now, like the last time, the AI will be controlling both fleets. Today, England is the green team and Norway is the red team. That shouldn't really matter. So, on the English side, we have the 4 battlecruisers. Kane being the largest one, followed by Bellingham, Gordon, Saka, and 7 battleships. Consa, O'Reilly, James, Anderson, Rice, Guehi, and Pickford. Norway not being fully visible yet. We can already make out the 3 battlecruisers. Holland, Sørloth, Nusa. Holland now having a distinctive battlecruiser design from the last time, not just the same type of ship as Sørloth and Nusa. Nyland also with a unique ship design. Maybe not the prettiest battleship out there, but with a very high resistance. Should be very survivable. And what a mess of a formation we are seeing. Ships kind of bumping into one another. Let's just give them a few minutes to untangle. And check back on the English team, which are running a very neat formation compared to the Norwegian one. Battlecruisers seemingly taking charge and advancing. They are kind of the strikers in this little game. Meanwhile, Norwegian battlecruisers seem to be just tangled up with the battleships. Right. Norwegian battleships already opening up. Some of them now bringing more ammunition than last time. Last battle we saw both Brazilians and Norwegians running out of ammunition before the battle was over. This time they should have enough shells to last the entire game. At least most of them. Some of them are still running regular ammunition loadout. The British mostly have increased ammunition and heavy shells, but they do have smaller guns, 15 rather than 16 inches. And England has scored the first hit, one small hit on Berge, 40 damage. Kane leading the charge. But also now receiving fire from a lot of Norwegian ships, a lot of 16-inch guns. And Kane does pay for that. With one 4-belt penetration for almost 3,000 damage. Last match we saw Norway and Brazil sail parallel for the entire match. This time, two teams are sailing in opposite directions. So, it will be exciting to see how that plays out. the Norwegian battlecruisers now have scored a pretty solid 4-belt penetration on Kane. That might have been Sørloth, actually. Sørloth so far having done most of the damage dealt by the entire Norwegian team. At least the Norwegian formation has become untangled. Battlecruisers so far just shielded behind the line of battleships, not wanting to repeat the very risky maneuvers they pulled last time against Brazil, which saw one of them go down and almost led to the loss of the other two. I think it was Nusa that went down last time, I'm not sure. Norway lost one battlecruiser and one battleship. Not exactly sure which battleship it was. We saw them do some very, very aggressive maneuvers twice. Once with the battlecruisers, another time with two battleships. Just barely getting away with it. This time, they're playing a lot more defensively. Not so with the English battlecruisers. They are being quite aggressive. Meanwhile, the English battleship line is not really engaging. These three, Rice, Guehi, Pickford, not even in range, not even firing back. We're 15 minutes in, and so far it seems Norway is dominating, having done 20 times the damage. Will we see the first ship being sunk soon? That might be Kane. At least these 4 battlecruisers are actively playing. Kane still charging in despite having lost most of the bow. Saka also having taken some hits, losing the secondary tower, but nothing really serious. What about damage on the Norwegian side? How are we looking? Nyland has taken some hits. But no, they are mostly intact. It seems everyone is focusing Kane right now. Engine briefly being knocked out, then repaired again. The 100% veteran crew. Kane and Holland being the two best ranked ships in this matchup, both with 100% crew. Kane has now lost all 3 funnels. You'd think 3 funnels would be, you know, difficult to knock out. But no, they're all gone. And Kane now leaving the head of the formation. But also the entire formation is turning around. Let's see what's happening with the English battleships. You got these 3. Rice, Guehi, Pickford. Seemingly trying to cross the T of the Norwegian battleship lineup. And these four, all focusing Berge. So that is 7 English battleships, all focusing the same target. But with very little to show for it. Berge having taken very superficial minor damage. Maybe this attempt at a crossfire will pay out. We'll have to see. If the English battleships don't directly engage soon, these battlecruisers will just get picked apart. And I think we are very close to seeing Norway being 1 point up if one of these go down. We are 23 minutes in. Norway still with 20 times the damage dealt. And that is yet another flooding hit on Kane. Remains to be seen if the engine can be fixed this time. The rudder is also out. Now Gordon is pushing in. So far undamaged. Let's see how long that lasts with this kind of aggression. Still pushing in. 12 kilometers. Gordon will soon be at a range at which that main belt armor will not hold. And there we saw it, the first main belt penetration, and that is most of Gordon already gone. Who scored that main belt penetration? Let's find out. Almost one battleship scoring. Let's see who has that kind of damage under their belt. Pedersen? That was Pedersen with a almost 12,000 damage main belt pen. Let's see if we can turn this into a nice little thumbnail. Like so, maybe? Yeah, let's go with that for now. This is exactly what we saw the Norwegian battlecruisers do against Brazil. Somehow only losing one of them. Let's see if the English will get away as cheaply. They will lose Gordon, and Gordon goes down. That's 1 point, Norway. Now Saka is the closest one, and will be on the receiving end of all of those angry guns. Or maybe not, because we now see these English battleships engaging, now sailing parallel to the Norwegian line. We saw them start out sailing in opposite direction, but these 3 battleships, having turned it around, now following a parallel course. Very interesting development. Berge, Ødegaard, Ayer leading the Norwegian charge. but also now on the receiving end of, it seems, every English gun. From 3 different directions. Was this kind of crossfire the plan all along? Maybe. I'm not sure if I want to give the AI that kind of credit, though. But maybe it will not work out, because Pickford is now on the receiving end a lot of fire. But so is... let's see, who is that? It's Holland. Taking a lot of fire. And Berge. And it seems once again the Norwegian formation is a little bit tangled up. Maybe they'll get away with it. Maybe they're a little bit too anxious about splitting up the fleet, having lost 2 ships that way versus Brazil, which could have ended in the loss of far more ships. It was just a miracle that 2 out of 3 battlecruisers survived last time. But that relentless shower of 16-inch shells that carried them to victory against Brazil also putting in the work against England, having done 10 times the damage. It used to be 20 times. So England is slightly picking up the slack. But the damage counter is still very, very much in favor of Norway. And also the kill counter, having sunk 1 English ship. That could change. We would really like to see some more aggressiveness out of these 4 English battleships, though. Neither of them having taken a scratch so far. Just pummeling away from afar. Kane, Saka, Bellingham, their formation being a little bit in disarray. Kane not in good shape. The entire bow section is flooding. 1 engine and the rudder is out. But still firing back. Rice, Pickford, so having taken quite a bit of damage. It seems these, at least some of them, not all 3, I almost misspoke, they're focusing Holland. Not having done a whole lot of damage, though. Or maybe they're focusing Hegem and Holland is just getting in the way. Bad good eye, still leading the charge. Straight into the crossfire, but not really caring. He keeps sailing. Guehi at 8.5 kilometers. Are we gonna see some more main belt penetrations here, like we saw versus Gordon? Norwegians are loading AP. They could go through this. Potentially. He has lost A and B turret, along with a lot of ammunition. Now turning around, presenting a flat broadside that could very well be exploited by some of those 16-inch armor-piercing shells. And there we saw it, main belt penetration. By... was that not Nusa? Was that... let's find out who that was. No, that was Nusa. And yes, that's right, torpedoes. The English battleships carry torpedoes. One would think that would make them a little bit more aggressive, but that seems to not be the case for anyone other than Guehi. Here comes Pickford and Rice. Not in much better shape than Guehi. Are we gonna see 2 points now for Norway? Does not seem like Guehi would get away with this. Ødegaard now having taken the lead. Circling back around, surrounding these three. Really turning the tables now who's surrounded. That was a reckless charge. By this lone battleship. The same as we saw Norway do last match. This time, I do not think these three English battleships will get away with it. But then again, I didn't think these three battlecruisers would get away with it. And it seems they did. So... only losing Gordon. And one may wonder what these ships are doing. Ødegaard closing in. We're at 8.3 kilometers. We could see torpedoes being launched. These have a... yeah, there we go. Pickford has launched torpedo. But it's just one underwater tube per side. Rice now also having launched. What happened to the first one? Did it fail? Could well be the case. Will this one hit though? It's on track to maybe hit Ölgård. And can one torpedo make up for this very raw firepower advantage? The torpedo even missed. Pickford now being on the receiving end. We are at 50 minutes in. Just over halftime. We're not going to cut the commercials, don't worry. And either of these three could be the candidate for the next ship sunk. They're all in very bad shape. And that might be Guehi, yes. Taking on a lot of water. No, it's Pickford actually. 2-0 Norway, and that will very soon be 3-0. I assume. What is Ölgård and Ayer doing? And there goes Guehi. 3, 4 points. Norway. And it seems Ölgård and I had already realized that was going to happen, and they are turning the entire Norwegian formation around to cut off Saka and the English battlecruisers. And almost 1 hour in, Saka now being the one target focused. And these 4 English battleships still far, far behind. Not in a position to exploit this messed up formations that the Norwegian fleet has. Holland being almost completely dead in the water. Now speeding up. Putting that turbo electric drive mobility to good use. Kane and Bellingham might not go down. I was so sure these would be sunk shortly after Gordon. But they're still around. Will the English battleship formation finally engage? Remains to be seen. Probably not in time to save Saka, which has not taken aboard any water yet, strangely enough. Most of the damage having been received above the waterline. Now they're firing, finally. This is Kane and Bellingham. Steadily pumping out the shots, but not really scoring any hits. At least not hits that damage. At 20 kilometers, Sokka's armor is mostly holding. But it's now taking on water. Fore and aft belts having been penetrated. There was some damage being received by Pedersen and Holland too, but it seems very superficial. You're almost getting too close here to the English gun line. Badge as well. Badge now turning back. And there goes Sokka. That is 5 points, Norway. I do not think England can turn this around. They've taken a hell of a beating from this seemingly disorganized Norwegian horde. And it looks like they might lose Kane as well. We still have 18 minutes left of the ordinary time. Kane now taking penetrations through forebelt and foredeck. And flooding throughout the entire hull. That is yet another ship down. 6 points for Norway. Will they make that 7? With Bellingham now being very much isolated. On the receiving end of fire from 11 mostly intact and operational Norwegian warships. What an absolute massacre this has been. 15 minutes left of the ordinary time. These 4 battleships barely having done anything. Consort 2.3 thousand. O'Reilly 2.1. James only 57. Anderson 2,000. I assume almost every Norwegian ship has done many times that kind of damage. Yes. One has to wonder what was the plan with this. They're not even in range. Less than 12 minutes remaining. I think that will be enough time for Norway to sink Bellingham as well. I do not think that will be enough time for England to do anything with these 4. At least not anything productive. And there we go. Flash fires. Bellingham has now lost all ammunition. The A turret launching towards space. And that looks like it will be 7 points for Norway. Are they just gonna run out the clock? It seems so. It's a bold strategy when you're down 7 points. We got 7 minutes remaining. They're now even losing sight of the Norwegian fleet. Five minutes remaining. Now we're at least back in visual range. But with less than 2 minutes remaining, I do not think any more ships will be sunk in this match. And I don't think there's going to be any overtime. Even if Ayed is now once again firing. Scoring 4-deck penetration on O'Reilly. Previously pristine, undamaged ships. Now once again taking fire. But that is time, and that is the match over. 7 points Norway. 0 for England. What an absolute slaughter that was. Very, very one-sided, especially compared to Norway-Brazil that we saw last time, which was quite even up until the end. Let's see how the next match ends up. Goodbye, and take care.